I am Kadir van Lohuizen and will bring you along on my assignment to show you how I approach a long-term documentary project. You'll see me work on a story about the rising sea levels in Waterland, the Netherlands, which is a new chapter of my personal project, Rising Tide. In the pre-production episode, I will show you how I research my story and subjects, how I build the script and prepare my equipment. In the on assignment episode, you will see me shoot my story, and I will explain how I work on a long-term perspective on a theme that is hard to capture visually. In the post-production episode, you will see how I output the material for the purpose of an exhibition. I will also speak about other dissemination platforms and how they all contribute to have a more sustainable business model as a photographer. If you come up with an idea and you want to work on a larger story, you have to ensure that it's not only unique, that it's visually interesting enough, but that you have the access as well. I'm Kadir van Lohuizen. I'm a photojournalist from the Netherlands, based in Amsterdam. I've been a professional photographer since 1988. Initially, I worked a lot in conflicts in Africa during the civil wars in Mozambique and Sierra Leone, Liberia, Angola, DRC, which former Zaire. So always traveling. Often 7 months a year I'm out of the country working for national media here in the Netherlands, but nowadays mainly for international media like the Washington Post or Time Magazine or New York Times. I really felt the need at some point that I wanted to explain those conflicts and I started to look for the reasons how it was being funded. And so it basically started like a story, right? First time I was in Bangladesh, I think it was 2011, I was in the Delta and I realized that there was a real problem coming up with the rising sea level. People were losing their livelihoods. So then I started to research if there were other places in the world where there was also an urgency, because we feel that this is a problem of the future generations. So I really felt that there was a lack of understanding that there were places in the world where this was happening already. And the Netherlands, I only included at the very end because I felt that the Netherlands, although we live below the sea level, I'm currently sitting below the sea level. It's a delta. So it's a very fragile country, but at the same time we have such a knowledge and we are so well protected by our dikes and levees. It kind of felt that we forgot that we are fragile. So I'll take you along to this place. It's just outside Amsterdam, just outside my city. And I think what I tried to do there is to show the people how they manage to live there in this area. Where do I start, how do I get the idea, and how do I make sure that I'm able to do it. It's a very personal thing, but for me it needs to be close to me. I need to be kind of intrigued by it or want to learn about it or understand it better. That's a very important reason for me. My advice is basically you have to follow your heart, right? Because if you start to photograph because you think that certain stories are wanted by the market or a certain market. You know, you're adjusting yourself constantly, and then it turns out that the magazine changed their policies and that that something else is more interesting for them. So for me, it's always been, you know, I kept it always very close to myself, and that's always been my guidance, and that has been really important. Most important thing, what you need as a photographer, is access. So, you know, you can dream about whatever story you want to do, but if you don't get access in the end of the day, you will not be able to deliver. Yeah, because it was I try to travel as small as possible. You know, my camera bag is usually not bigger than this. It doesn't even really look like a camera bag. Very strong. So I have one or two bodies. Basically switched to the Nikon mirrorless a couple of months ago. This is the Z6, great camera, because it's, you know, the mirrorless, they are pretty small. And what's really great about the mirrorless is for video, except that this camera is really great for video. It shoots great 4K video. What's great for video with the mirrorless is that normally with the DSLR, the mirror goes up. So you cannot shoot videos through the viewfinder. So you have to use the screen, which if you are outside in a bright sunny day, it's difficult. And with the mirrorless, there's no mirror, so you can look through the viewfinder and film, which is really great. I have, usually I use about 3-4 lenses. This is the 2870 2.8. Very nice lens. It has a third ring, which you can dedicate to if it either changes your aperture or your exposure. Then there's this one, which is the 35 1.8 prime lens. Very nice lens. And the same goes for the 50 1.8. Also a very nice lens. I carry this still often. It's actually made for the FX sensors for the DSLR, but with the adapter it fits on the mirrorless. It's a 105 2.8 micro lens. When I'm planning a shooting for one of my projects, research is really crucial. If you are not well prepared, you will probably lose a lot of time. A translator or fixer could be essential. Discuss with him/her the logistics of your story, transport, accommodation, etc. Be sure the story you will be working on is feasible to be told visually. Make sure you have access. Once again, research is essential. Scientists, articles in the media, NGOs, governments. The internet can be of great help, but make sure your sources are verifiable. Next to my camera, my notebook is my best friend. Make sure you write down the names of the people you photograph, speak to. Any interviews, locations, dates, it's super important. Sun is rising early morning just outside Amsterdam. Very familiar for me because it's the real Netherlands. Flat land, cows, chickens, lots of water because it's called the waterland. We're here at Albert and Angela. It's a family farm. It started already in 1861. What I'm trying to achieve is to get some images what it's actually like to be a farmer in a very low-lying land. We are below sea level here. We're quite close to the inner sea. We'll go there later. So I'm here early in the morning because farmers, they work very early in the morning. So you can check what they are doing. I think they're milking the cows now, and then we'll see how it develops. I might be shooting some video as well. You know, I'm often I'm mixing stills and video now, but it's always a challenge because when do you actually shoot stills and when do you shoot the video? Obviously having one camera which does both 4K video and stills helps a lot, but still you need to adjust quite a few settings and be very aware what you're doing. Wait, let me get there. He's bringing in the cows.
They call it the climate change. You got more extreme weather, so you get a lot of water at the same time, and then the water here, well, it doesn't go away fast enough.
Because it is pretty extreme, right?
Sometimes it's extreme. Yeah, we also had it now, and 2 years ago we had extreme dry summer.
Yeah.
I never had it in my life. Never had such a dry summer.
Was it affecting your farm?
Yeah.
In what way?
For the first time, I have to buy grass, hay.
Right.
And for the first time,
it was
I had to do it.
But that was not last summer, right? When it was
a little bit,
really hot, right?
A little bit, but 2 summers ago, 2018.
Drought.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Hello. And no foxes. I'm gonna fly my drone now. This is my drone, small, so easy to carry. And you know, drones are used quite a lot, and sometimes you know, you wonder if it's really necessary. So I think you have to be careful by using it. You have to check if you can actually fly. You know, usually now in cities, you cannot. You're not allowed to do it. Don't do it because you can get very hefty fines. But for this project, I've been using it quite a lot because, you know, if you talk about the rising sea level and you want to show how fragile coastal areas are, it's good to see it sometimes from the air. So what I want to do now is, you know, we're still at the farm and we're quite close to the inner sea, so I want to see if we take the drone up, if we can see the water and the land from here, and then later we will go to the sea dike and fly it from there, and we will see the land. If something goes wrong, you need to know how to bring it back and how to do it manually. So that needs a bit of a learning, and it's a bit frightening always to fly it. You know, it's still like they're much cheaper than they used to be, but this one is pretty good. So it's like 1,300 euro. So the thing with a drone is, you know, one day you will crash it and lose it. The question is only when. So, you know, there's always something. Yeah, it's strange to work on this, well, the finals of this project so close to home. I mean, I've been for this project all over the world, in the Pacific and Bangladesh and the US, and now I'm at home in the Netherlands, really close to Amsterdam, doing my last images. So it's nice to close a project next door at home. But it's quite new, you know, it's very rare that I photograph in the Netherlands. It's also a challenge, you know, especially on this topic, because the Dutch are very well protected. We have a great coastal defense system, and we have our dikes. And it's a challenge to visualize how fragile also the Netherlands is. So I have to find a way to make this visible. No, I think this is interesting here. It's interesting visually as well because you know, we are on the dike, on the sea dike, and you actually see how low the land is, and that this dike is actually protecting it. It's a challenge because, you know, often I'm speaking about something which will happen in the future. So, you know, how do you make something visual, which is sometimes not visual yet? So, you know, in this project, it meant I had to do a lot of research because I was looking for regions in the world where there's kind of an urgency already because, you know, I mean, the problem starts much earlier than you don't have to wait till the water is at your feet. You know, the problem already starts when the sea is intruding more often. So people are losing their land and they can't grow crops anymore. There's no drinking water. So yeah, that's what I have been researching. We're going to De Gedam. It's a small village. It's just one long row of houses on the dike. Former fishing village of Amsterdam, actually. And we're going to see there a friend of mine. He's called Brian. And he lives in the lighthouse of Amsterdam. So it's the entrance of the east side of the port of Amsterdam. So the lighthouse, that's the way to navigate to get into the port of Amsterdam. So he lives there with his family, his kids, his wife, and he runs a super good restaurant there as well. So it's called the Lighthouse Island, and so it means that his kids, if they have to go to school or they come back home, he has to drop them and pick them up by boat. So the kids will be arriving, the school will be finishing, and will be waiting with his kids to go back home. So this is a former fishing village right under the smoke of Amsterdam. So it had a fishing fleet, but that was when the fishing was still done by sail. So there were these wooden fishing boats, no engine. I think we are on might be quite small, right? So I need a bit of a wide angle now. So it's 2470, which could be good. Sun hood, you never know. But it protects your lens as well. Hoe vaak heb je dit wel niet gevaren?
Nou, uh, 2000 uur. Okay, we have to wait for the kids, huh?
Yeah. How many
I don't know.
you have today? You never know. It's always a surprise.
Yeah, always a surprise. There's one at home now.
You have 3 kids, right?
4. The teenager is at home, but I don't know. I don't know if she's interested.
When we met, he was a single guy.
Yeah.
Hallo. Hoe is het? Ik ben Kadir. Hoe? Maren. Diva.
En ik.
Yeah. Lighthouse Island. Brian just told me that the lighthouse there is from 1700s. And it's actually a whole fort. You see the buildings, he will show us. This was the part of the defense system of Amsterdam to protect the city.
And that's where they are building Eiburg 2.
Where they dredging?
No, it's sand ships.
Oh, yeah.
So they're bringing sand, and then there's an underwater pipeline, and then they're raising land there.
You're gonna fly the drone. I think it's nice to, we're very lucky the sun just came out. But the footage of yesterday is still on it, so I'm gonna change the card in case something happens, I mean, normally you should really, when you're shooting, you should download every day. So this is a small mistake on my side that I didn't do it, because if something happens, you lose your camera, or sometimes those cards can corrupt, and then you really don't want to lose it. Well, I mean, we were lucky with the weather. We had a little, short time because the kids were coming back from school, so Brian, the dad, was picking them up, but then they had to go ice skating, not on the natural ice because it's far too warm for this time of the year, so they go to the skating rink. So, but it was really nice, and we were super lucky that the rain stopped and then the sun came out. So the light was really beautiful, but sometimes you have to work a bit quick, right? And then, so we'll see what came out of it and if it fits in the story. I think in the boat it was nice, these kids are, they grew up on the water, right? I mean, they sailed around the world and they go to school every day by boats. That makes it interesting, right? I think it's because it's the waterland and it's a fragile area, and these kids, that's how they were born and how they function. So I hope I can find a shot. We flew the drone as well, which was nice with the light. The lighthouse, and then you see the land behind and the water, so maybe that could work as well. Back from a day of shooting. Lucky because it was raining all day, and then when we arrived it cleared up. So time to download. Nikon Z6 takes XQD cards. So here I have my card reader. Put it in the USB ports. 2 hard drives. You know, always back up twice. If one fails and you have only one drive, you're really screwed. I use Photomechanic to ingest and to make my first edit. Very fast program, reads raw files very quickly. All assume that you're shooting raw files, which you always shoot. So this was the first afternoon, late afternoon at the farmer. He had 2 sheep close by, so went to see went with him when he was feeding them. Interesting, kind of an interesting image, because the sheep, they were expecting him and hoping obviously that they would bring something. And after that he's milking the cows. He's milking the cows twice a day, one time in the afternoon around 5 p.m. and then the next morning at 7, 8 a.m. Well, this is actually an image I was looking for, because, you know, I mean, this is a story about people who live in this waterland. You know, there's a lot of water, the soil is very swampy, and they've been there for generations, like him, you know, I mean, his grandparents started this farm. So here we are in the barn with the cows, and you actually see the landscape behind it, and it's like a, you know, it's almost like a panoramic, like a painting, if it's not real. So that's kind of an image which I was looking for. That you see, it's really Dutch, you know, that you're in the Netherlands, and he's working with the cows. So I think that's going to be a number 2 for the edit. I either use manual or aperture priority. I will never use program, so because I want to control, especially the depth of field, I want to control. Obviously, this particular image, there's quite a contrast between the artificial lighting in the barn, and then you have the outdoor. So I measure very carefully. I first measure on him and the cows, and then I measure on the outside, and then I lock my exposure where I feel that it's probably gonna work. You can do a lot in post-production, especially if you shoot raw. But if there's no details in the whites, or there's no details in the blacks, then you will just not get it. I'm trying to use, obviously I'm thinking about the angle of the lens that I'm using, and I'm also thinking about the distance. So, you know, in this case, I was very much looking about the landscape, you know, inside the barn you have the cows, and then you have him working with the cows, and then you have outside the countryside, basically, which is already quite dark, but it kind of gives it a interesting, yeah, it makes it kind of interesting, so I keep it. I don't know if technically this is okay, so we have to check, but you know, you see this very typical wet Dutch landscape outside. It's very early morning, and he's putting the hay in the barn. So I think I have a number of these images, so I think this is interesting. It's interesting that this camera has a tiltable screen, so, you know, I put it higher. I will put it higher here, so you know I'll have a bit more of the landscape. Arrival, nice, right? So it has the elements I'm looking for. It's the water, the sea. You can see that they can only arrive by boat. It's a lighthouse, so one is already on shore, the other two are waiting. So yeah, it has multiple layers, right? So you see this girl, then you see the two girls in the boat, you see the lighthouse, the sea. So obviously the relationship between the people and the environment is essential. So I keep, you know, sometimes I will go really close, but then it becomes more like a portrait. And otherwise I'll keep a certain distance because I want to put them in the environment. Here you see the dike, the sea, and you know, you have to really think what you're doing if you fly a drone, because if you look top down, you don't see the difference in height. So here, you know, I know that I'm looking at a dike, but you don't see it anymore. It just looks flat because of the angle which I used. So interesting, but not good enough. Yeah, this was lucky. This is lucky, right? You see the dike. This is going north, and I met someone on the road and asked him what the ship was doing and what they were working on, and he said they are actually reinforcing the sea dike. So that's obviously an important part of the story, that the Netherlands is slowly preparing for what's going to happen in the future, and that we have to reinforce our dikes. So yeah, the drone was great. It's great here because you kind of have an overview. You know, you see the dike, the land behind it, and the ships working here. I think it's important to understand that most of the stories I do, most of the projects I work on, I initiate myself. So, you know, it's not like that somebody is calling me and say, hey, can you work on a project about the diamond industry or about the climate crisis for the next year? That just doesn't happen. It's my own initiative, you know, and that's why there's a necessity for me that the stories I work on, that I have a connection with, that I feel close to. So, because I had the knowledge, because I experienced something, because I saw something, I read something, you know, and then it starts to boil in my brain, and then it kind of becomes something. But, you know, I mean, it makes it very important nowadays that you realize that, you know, the print media is still there. And if you can get an assignment or you can get published by a newspaper or a magazine, it's great. But I do believe that it will disappear in the end, the print, which is a shame because it's nice, you know, it's nice to have a paper. But, you know, whatever, it probably will disappear. That means that that online will be the new platform. But it means you have to diversify your income. You cannot only rely on print now, you cannot only rely on online now. So, you know, exhibitions could be a tool. There is money to be found to have an exhibition. You know, you can sell your prints, like art prints. You need to be inventive in where you publish and how you publish. So one of the ways to show your work is obviously in an exhibition as well. We are here at the Maritime Museum in Amsterdam, and the great thing about this museum is that every school in Amsterdam or elsewhere in the Netherlands, they will have to come here. So they will see this, and especially if we talk about the climate crisis, I'm really happy to see the kids here. I really try to find a balance together with my designer, the museum, and my editor, to find a balance between the print but also projections. So the projections, it's still photography, but it's also quite a lot of video, drone footage, and text. My whole career has kind of been an experiment as well, and see what works and what doesn't work and how I can reach my audiences. And it's been an interesting journey, but it's tough sometimes, right? Because, you know, being freelance, you're never sure. You know, maybe this month can be great, and I have some great publications, and the next months I don't know. Visuals are very important nowadays. They always were, but nowadays, you know, sometimes it's visual proof that something really has happened. You know, I mean, in that sense, you often document. You're documenting history, what will become history. So, nevertheless, an image is not just an image. What defines a professional photographer, a professional photojournalist from someone who is an amateur and takes beautiful pictures, what's the difference? That you understand journalistic ethics, what can be done and not can be done. You don't manipulate your images. You cannot change the content. You cannot remove or add. But that you also understand how to build a story. You know, to take a single strong image is an achievement, but to build a whole story, to build a sequence so that it's complete, is an art in itself.